Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele. I hope everybody is having a fabulous weekend and doing, some very cool stuff and all of that. Special show today. I didn't do one yesterday because I was off seeing the movie of the week, and that is Fast 10. And I'm actually going to be, not after this, but later on today, come back here, guys, and myself and Matthew Anderson, who has been on the channel a few times. Stay tuned because we are going to be doing a complete and total spoiler cast of the new Fast X. And I actually have a story later on that's really going to it's a good story. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And we have a lot more to get to in the spoiler cast. So stay tuned for that. Okay. So I don't have anything really off the top, but I thought we'd just dive into it. So let's just start with the first story. So there's a little movie that just premiered at Cannes no more than 24 hours ago. And it is one of the biggest movies of the summer. And it is coming out at the end of June. And I'm talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I still can't wrap my head around that title, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Um, so Indiana Jones is not only one of the most beloved characters in almost cinema, but is played by obviously Harrison Ford, and so the reviews are in for it. But before we get to the reviews, I want to talk about there is a article that was published by Variety that I'd like to get to about the de-aging. So let's talk about the de-aging story first, and then we'll come back to this one. So this is yesterday from Variety, and it says, "Attention Hollywood, de-aging isn't working, so please stop using it." Here's a fun little Hollywood. Here's a fun fact that Hollywood actors hate to admit: people getting older. In reaction to the natural progression of life, Hollywood is engaged in de-aging effects for older actors to play younger versions of their characters, whether it's in franchises or standalone films, such as Robert De Niro in The Irishman, Samuel L. Jackson in Captain Marvel, or most recently Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Like most new technology that comes into the industry, it takes some getting used to. However, with more than 24 high-profile experiments thus far, the misfires greatly outweigh the successes. De-aging effects in Hollywood still need to be fine-tuned, and Hollywood should only use them once we learn how to perfect them. A primary concern is in all of this, while the effects look visually impressive, they fall short of replicating the natural appearance of a younger self. In addition, it can affect how viewers react to the film, as they become distracted by the uncanny effects, the lack of subtle nuances and authenticity that human expressions create. James Mangold takes on the famous archaeologist. James Mangold take on the famous archaeologist receive a tepid response following its premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, and we'll get to that in a couple minutes. Where critics and attendees were divided on the fifth installment of the franchise, but hardcore indie fans may find redemption in the final chapter of Ford's beloved hero, following the insufferable Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The first 25 minutes, encompassing a large action set piece featuring the professor fighting Nazis on a high-speed train during World War II, Ford is digitally transformed back to his prime, which began in Spielberg's 1981 Raiders of the Lost Ark. After a bag is removed from the actor's head, digital eyes harness the realism of a young Indiana, instead of emulating what looks like to be a video game story break in between gameplay before the user takes over the character for their next mission or quest. While the action beats and movement are impressive, the effects in the scene only work, because most of it, in its shroud in darkness, featuring both Ford and co-star Toby Jones, not de-aged, running on the rooftops of the train, ducking and dodging the worst alien soldiers in modern cinema, probably next to the stormtroopers in Star Wars. With de-aging effects that have been deemed successful, The 2019's Gemini Man, which was horrible. The plot was with Will Smith as a young assassin, as an assassin who was hunted by his younger clone version of himself, or Alfred Molina with his welcome return as Doc Ock in 2021's Spider-Man: No Way Home. The practice offers a false impression that Hollywood has, quote, nailed it. But in actuality, some attempts are less distracting because they use subtle and smart ways throughout their execution. It can be argued if there is such a thing as being, quote, too old to be de-aged, end quote. For example, despite the fact that it nabbed an Oscar nomination for Best Visual Effects, one of the main criticisms of Martin Scorsese's 2019 gangster flick, The Irishman, is despite the valiant efforts that make the three main leads, De Niro, Al Pacino, and Pesci, look decades younger while the actors are playing themselves in the specific time period, they still can maneuver as people in their senior years. Such physical limitations imposed by the technology can restrict the actor's range of facial expressions and body language, due mostly to the extensive digital manipulation that must take place. What happened to the good old days of casting actors to portray characters at various stages of lives? Do we not see the value of what Judi Dench and Kate Winslet brought to 2001's Iris, or Winslet and Gloria Stewart in Titanic? Following today's trend, Martin Brando would have been de-aged to play the Corleone patriot in The Godfather 2, depriving us of the world of Robert De Niro's Oscar-winning turn. Even River Phoenix brilliantly portrayed a young Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. The harsh truth is that there is a fundamental difference, which can be recognized by the naked eye, between someone in their 20s and 30s who can navigate the world versus someone in their 70s and 80s. That could explain how Mads Mikkelsen, who's 57, who plays the villainous Jalger Voller, has no trouble transitioning from his 1939 self to his 1969 self. Hindsight and time always allow perspective and reflection. So even though David Fincher's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button won the Oscar for visual effects back in 2010, it may not have been the best idea to retrofit Brad Pitt's face on the body of a young child who looks like an old man. But then they have a real-life baby at the end, which logically doesn't precisely track. Interestingly enough, we've seen the technology used in older males in seldomly in women. Michelle Pfeiffer in Ant-Man and the Wasp, for example, and Sean Young in Blade Runner 2049 are a few examples of the sole examples. What will be the reception when an A-lister like Helen Mirren or Julia Roberts takes the lead that attempts to use them? Will they be received similarly or taken more harshly? Are the effects of Dial of Destiny doesn't work for the character? Not exactly. It's unapologetic about who's catering to its adoring fans. Like any franchise hero who lacks superhero powers, the narrative and action beats defy logic, as every single character is able to scale a rock wall with no gear and survive a mission explosion in a compound, which is still not as bad as surviving a nuke by way of a refrigerator and crystal skull. All those fantastic feats are ironic since Indy is an avid supporter of, quote, science. In addition, much of the film feels like the 1969 template of a Grand Theft Auto, and possibly sets a record for the number of times people are kidnapped and rescued in a 142-minute movie. While Raiders of the Lost Ark found its way to 9 Oscar nominations and 5 wins, Dial of Destiny seems unlikely to follow in its predecessor's footsteps. Last year's 2 big blockbuster sequels entered the big picture lineup: 20th Century Fox's Avatar: The Way of Water and Top Gun Maverick, with the latter debuting at Cannes. There are often 2 roles that lead to recognition for the Academy's top prize: record-breaking box office and or the love for the artisan's branch. I found myself being hypnotized by the nostalgia of it all and was utterly charmed by the performance of Phoebe Waller-Bridges, even though her character lacks likability. And newcomer Ethan Eisdor. Maybe he can win the Oscar on its own in 30 years. It's unclear if Indy will be able to travel through either one of those roads, at least based on early reactions. Okay, let's talk about this because this is a big thing. And look, so this is one of those technologies just like anything else, okay, it gets overused, okay? Once we get something that we all can do, when I say we, I mean Hollywood, we all can do, um, what ends up happening is everybody wants to use it, right? They found out how to use it and they said, let's go do it. And what they don't realize is that they're still trying to work the bugs out. And they try to incorporate it into every single plot. Even if it doesn't work, they'll shoehorn it in. And what you get is a story, or frankly, a movie that could use less of it. And in some cases, less is more. And so, that being said, I think that when you have a technology like this, you have to use it very sparingly. And that being, it's one of those things where if you use it too much, that's why the budget of this film is 300 and I want to say $70 million. It's not because they're paying Harrison Ford a boatload of money, guys. It's because of the de-aging process. Okay. The thing is, like, I mean, it's like The Irishman. The Irishman, I want to say the budget was that, around $150 million. It wasn't because they were putting De Niro and Pesci and Al Pacino, they weren't backing the trucks up for him. I'm sure they got a handsome sum of money. But my point is this all went to the technology, and that's why not one of the studios wanted to touch it. So Netflix came along and said, okay, you know what? You can do it. And by the way, you can have full creative control. And I think that's another reason, because Scorsese is very old school in that manner. So he didn't want a lot of studio interference. So, therefore his last two movies now, Killers of the Flower Moon, okay, which is going to debut either today or tomorrow at Cannes, and Irishman are done by streamers. But all that being said, I think here's the thing. If you're going to use it, you have to use it sparingly. Okay? You have to use it in the right manner, and you have to use it sparingly. You can't, if this is 142 minutes, okay, so it's 2 hours and 22 minutes total running time. Cut out the last 7-9 minutes for credits, and I'm sure there's a lot of visual effects, graphic people that worked in this film. Then, use it sparingly. And I think, if that could really, really detract from the film to where, this is not what Harrison Ford looks like. Okay. As it said, it took, this is that scene, that was being described on the article. You take a look at Harrison Ford today, it's not, and this goes into something too. It's like, Tom Hanks said it the other day that, he can live on forever. All he's got to do is, and there are stars that have been doing this as of recently. Take James Earl Jones for Darth Vader, or, somebody else he's 93. He's not, but that being said, this isn't, if this is the way it's going to go, studios are going to be in trouble because they're going to be dumping all of this money into it. And, hopefully it does well. It's going to have a lot of competition out there. I just think that I would agree. I would say this, less is more. Take a step back, because frankly, at this point, I hope, and this is just my hope, I hope that this de-aging doesn't detract from the movie. Because everybody's going to be talking about, well, did you see how they de-aged Harrison Ford? And, yeah, but the plot sucked. The plot was terrible. So I don't know. I think that, like I said, less is more, and they have to use it very, very sparingly. And when they do that, and when it's right for the story, then you can use it. So Anyways, guys, what do you think about the de-aging process and deep fakes and everything else? Do you think this is the new way of Hollywood that everybody's going to continue to use it until they perfect it? Or do you think they're going to take the low road and actually wait on this? Do you actually do some sort of deep fakes or de-aging? Can you do that with Photoshop and whatever else? I don't know. So this would all be new information to me. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear them. I'll get back to everybody. Okay. So we go from one Indiana Jones story to the other. So this is, once again, this is a film that's been long anticipated. It's been long awaited. I never saw Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because I wasn't going to subject myself to that. And then people had an idea, a lot of people, including myself, would have liked if Indy had just ridden off into the sunset in '89. And if that had happened, I think everybody would have been okay with that. But coming back to try and do another Indiana Jones movie, even a young Indiana Jones movie with his son, and it just didn't work. It's one of those films that everybody they forget about. Never happened. So that being said, so this one, and we alluded to it in the other piece, talks about the reactions. So here's what some of the critics are actually saying about this new Indiana Jones movie. Okay. So this comes to us from the THR. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny premiered at the Cannes Film Festival on Thursday night. So it was Thursday night that this actually premiered. At the Glitzy Palace screening, director James Mangold and stars Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Mad Mikkelsen, Boyd Holbrook, Ethan Osdor enjoyed a warm 5-minute standing ovation from the crowd. But it was Indy himself, Harrison Ford, who was at the center of attention, with the actor visibly moved to tears by the reception. Not soon after the premiere, the first reviews of the film, which will hit theaters on June 30th, came trickling in. As of late, the early critical reaction to the fifth film, that's much beloved for the Indiana Jones franchise, has been decidedly mixed. A common theme among the early reviewers is that this is better than Indy's last outing, rather the polarizing Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull from 2008, but not much better. So that is not good news. Many reviewers took issue with the digitally de-aged Ford, which we just talked about, in some of the scenes and the use of CGI overall. But there was praise aplenty for Waller-Bridges and, of course, Ford, who still oozes charm as the adventurer archaeologist. So I'm going to read you here below are a couple of key excerpts of some of the most prominent early reviews. So the Hollywood Reporter's David Rooney wrote, quote, "What the new film scripted by Jez Butterworth, John Henry Butterworth, David Culp, and Mangold, with the feel of something written by the committee, does have is a sweet blast of pure nostalgia in the closing scene, a welcome reappearance foreshadowed with a couple of visual clues early on," end quote. But that, quote, "part of that dims the enjoyment of the concluding chapter is just how glaringly fake so much of it looks," end quote. So that's one of them from THR. Here's the Guardian's Peter Bradshaw. Okay, he was more positive about it. And he described Dial of Destiny as, quote, "quite a bit of zip and fun and narrative ingenuity with all the MacGuffin silliness that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull really didn't have," end quote. The review goes on to say, "The finale is wildly silly and entertaining, and that Dial of Destiny is put to an audacious use to which makes light of the whole question of defying aging and the gravitational pull of time. Indiana Jones still has a certain old class, is still an old class, so has a certain old class," end quote. So here's the IndieWire's David Ulrich. He didn't pull any punches in his review, writing that, quote, Not only is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny an almost complete waste of time, it is also a belabored reminder that some relics are being left alone where they are and where they belong. If only any previous entries in the series had taken great pains out to point that out, he said. Although took issue with the many aspects of the film, but crucially, it was, quote, safe. Empire's John Newton. I'm not going to read all of these to you because these are all different. I just want you to get a couple of ideas. So, in contrast, Empire's John Nugent was very high on Dial of Destiny, writing, quote, all of the hallmarks of the series are there that you'd hope there'd be, lovingly preserved in archaeological treasures, Nugent wrote. He welcomed Mangold's more somber direction and concluded by writing, Indy's final date with Destiny is a burning finale that might divide audiences, but if you join him for the ride, it feels like a fitting goodbye to cinema's favorite grave robber. Let's talk about this because this is one of those things where I just saw Fast 10 the other day. And by the way, as I said at the top of the show, I am going to be doing a spoiler cast later on today, probably around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So come back for that, guys. I'll going to put that out on my Twitter, which is below for all you guys to check out. So come join me for that. The reason I bring up Fast 10 is because it was much of the same thing. Okay, I'm not going to give all of it because we're going to do a spoiler cast later. But what I will say is this: Fast 10 was wild and crazy, and I even put out a tweet about it. Fast 10 was wild and crazy. Okay, and it was all over the place, like all over the place. And the thing is that I think that if this is what it is you got to remember, Harrison Ford's 82, 81, 82 years old. The thing is, okay, I like a good story. I'm all about story. But at some point, you just need to pack it in. Okay? You need to pack it in. And I think that while this is look, this is one of the most beloved characters in cinema, right? He really is. When you really go back and look at Harrison Ford's career, he had a 20-year span where he was in two of the not only top, but the greatest franchises of all time, right? He was in Star Wars, and he was in Indiana Jones. So he did Star Wars in 77, okay? He did Empire in 80. He did Raiders in 81, okay? He did Jedi in 83, okay? He did Temple of Doom in 84, okay? He did Blade Runner in, I believe, 85, okay? He did something else, okay? He did Last Crusade in 89, okay? And then from that, he transitioned to an action star. Okay, he did Clear and Present Danger. He did Patriot Games. He did Witness in 88. He's done drama regarding Henry. This is a unbelievable actor. So when he gets put off into the sunset in 88, 89 with Last Crusade, everybody said that was perfect. That was perfect. But to hear one of those reviews say this is not much better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that's not a good sign. Not only for indie fans, and they're going to come out and see it regardless, but I think they're going to be disappointed, but for the franchise. And not only the franchise, the studio. Because they spent $290 million on this movie. Look, we're going to be covering it here on the channel. I'm still going to go see it. And the thing is that I can't wait for this movie. I hope, fingers crossed, I hope this does well. But, you know, it is what it is. And I hope that Universal or the studio, I hope they've learned their lesson. Because maybe they decide, okay, we need to move on from this. So, I don't know. When you get mixed reviews, now I would be very curious to see, because we're about a month out from this. I'll be very curious to see what kind of, when we do projections for this, or they do projections and we talk about it here on the channel, how big it's going to be. Right? So, I mean, you have some of the biggest movies of the summer coming out still. Okay? You've got The Flash on the 16th. You've got Transformers on the 9th. Okay? You've got Across the Spider-Verse coming out on the 2nd. So that's going to cannibalize some of your box office. It'll be interesting to see. Anyways, guys, what do you think about the reviews of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? Are you a hardcore indie fan? Which one of the Indiana Jones films is your favorite? Is it Raiders of the Lost Ark? Is it Last Crusade? Is it Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? Are you going to go see this opening weekend? Leave me your thoughts down in the comments, and I'm going to get back to everybody. Okay, so we move from films that are going to be coming out to something that's going to actually be closing. And so Disney, as we all know, owns Star Wars, and they've had tremendous success making billions and billions and billions of dollars. So a couple of years ago, and I didn't even know this existed. So a couple of years ago, they opened this hotel, okay? And it was called Galactic Star Cruiser. Now, Galactic Star Cruiser is a place you could go if you want to really, I mean, this is for your hardcore, die-hard, cosplay type of into Star Wars kind of thing. But the kicker was it was really, really expensive. Okay. It was $6,000 for almost a 48-hour stay. So the reason I bring this up is because it's going to be closing its doors. So this comes from the THR. Disney's expensive Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel is to close less than 2 years after opening. Get this. Get a windowless theme park hotel and a mandatory stay that costs the family $6,000 per visit. Didn't work out. And by the way, here is the room. Here is the room. Okay, $6,000. Disney has decided to shutter its Star Wars themed Galaxy Star Cruiser Hotel less than 2 years after opening it. The ultra-ambitious project opened in March of 2022 near the Disney World Resort in Orlando. The Starship's final voyage will be in September. A stay roughly costing $1,200 a person for the 2-day all-inclusive interactive role-playing adventure where guests interact with characters from the sci-fi saga and enjoy themed games, food, and drink will be now closing. Now the Starship will be decommissioned and sent to the scrapyards. Star Wars Galaxy Cruiser is one of the most creative projects ever and has been praised by our guests and recognized for setting a new bar of innovation and immersive entertainment, Disney said in a statement. This premium boutique experience gives us the experience to try new things on a smaller scale of 100 rooms. As we prepare for its final voyage, we will take what we've learned to create future experiences that will reach more of us guests and fans. Indeed, Star Wars fans who visited the hotel generally had high praise for the concept, averaging a 4.5 on TripAdvisor. If you are into Star Wars and you enjoy role playing, this is absolutely worth it, wrote one reviewer. In addition to the lodging, food, it's a lot of food, park admission, including Lightning Lane, access to the rides, which you are really paying for is the experience that is to be put on by the characters and crew members. However, notably, it is the fact that there were only 43 reviews among the guests who did not enjoy their stays. One who described the experience, quote, as like being in jail, end quote, and another who dubbed it the most expensive ripoff of my life, saying that they had to spend most of their time staring at their phone in order to participate in the role playing games. The hotel is surprisingly small, as you can see there by the picture, with few themed spaces to explore. Even the garden climate simulator, which is supposed to help with claustrophobia, is small. I really don't know why it's so tiny. There is plenty of land to work with. It doesn't feel immersive, it feels cramped. The pandemic likely made the concept a tougher sell for the virus weary, given the prospect of being confined into an enclosed area for a prolonged period of time. Galactic Star Cruiser will at least be remembered for the perfect destination for families who love Star Wars and role playing and had an extra $6,000 to spare and a high tolerance for enclosed spaces. Okay, let's talk about this. Boy, oh boy, $6,000. Um, I love Star Wars. I mean, I'm not this diehard, oh my god, I can't live without it kind of guy. But I love Star Wars. I enjoy the films. I enjoy certain things. But the fact that you're paying $6,000 for 48 hours, essentially 48, almost 48 hours. I mean, you're not even getting 48 hours. You're getting, because checkout's at 10 a.m., right? So if check-in's at 1, you're not even getting 2 full days there. So the turnaround is extremely fast. Beyond that, though, can we talk about the price and what they're, in their statement? Of course, they're saying, well, we're trying to, we'll learn from our experiences. Well, no kidding. It's $6,000. Okay. This premium boutique gave us the opportunity to try things on a smaller scale of 100 rooms. We'll learn to create future experiences that are more, in reach of our. How about less expensive? How about less expensive? Because that's what it comes down to. I mean, look, when you go on vacation, okay, you're going to spend money. We know that, okay? But the problem is you don't want to have to worry about anything, whether it's food, whether it's lodging, whether it's admission to the parks, anything. And I think, I mean, these bunk beds look horribly, horribly, horribly. Is it me? I mean, I'm not a claustrophobic kind of guy, but those look terribly small. I mean, that guy can barely, I don't know, maybe that guy's probably 5'8", 5'9". He could barely fit into that. Right? I mean, the beds look more, spacious than. Now, we have the video, the TV camera there, or the TV screen there. I don't know what those things are on the wall, probably an intercom. I'd love to know if it's that whole thing. I would have loved to have seen more of it. Okay? But, if you're really paying for the experience of it, I mean, how much food is, of course they're going to give you a lot of food to make you feel like, well, I'm going to get more for my money here. I go to Las Vegas all the time. And the thing is, that's why everything's so cheap in Vegas. They give you a boatload of food. I mean, you can get a steak, a decent steak, for $15.99. Okay? And it's because they're taking all your money. Okay? This is just, at the end of the day, this is closing because it's just too high priced. Call a spade a spade. It is too high priced. If it had been a week, okay, or even 5 days, that would have been manageable. I mean, look, that's still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm definitely not wealthy, okay? The point is, though, if the turnaround for 48 hours, that's not worth it to me. I don't care how much you give me. 48 hours? Not a chance. I don't care how immersive. What I want for $6,000 is I want meet and greets with stars. And not only do I want meet and greets, I want autographed pictures. I want meet and greet stars. I want, I want to have lunch with the stars. That's what I want for $6,000. Okay? That's what I want. I don't want, this. You know what this reminds me of? And I looked into this because James Bond, okay, is actually celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. Okay. And what they have, okay, and I forgot the site off the top of my head, you can Google this if you want, is they have an experience, okay, and you can pick which experience you want, and you get to do or go to the places that Bond went to. And by the way, when I'm talking about Bond, I'm talking about the most current Daniel Craig James Bond. I'm not talking about all of the other ones. Okay. So that being said, you're going to all these places. Okay, London and Casino Royale and all these places. That being said, that's worth $6,000. That is where I would love to go to Casino Royale. Love to. Not because I'm a gambler, because to actually see it. I've been in casinos, of course, but there's something different about it. To say, oh, I've been there. There's something different about it. But $6,000 for 48 hours is a lot of money. And it's what happens if you have kids, right? Come on, kids, let's go to, Galactic Star Cruise. Okay, yeah, Dad, let's go do. And you can only stay for 2 days. Like, what? And that's if you're lucky to get on the right. Yeah, you have lightning passes and everything else. But really? Because once you check out, those things go away. Your back is this is VIP to the VIP. This is super elite. Okay, this is like a high roller in Vegas type of thing. And the problem is, first of all, you only have 100 rooms. Okay, so that just tells you how elite it is. Second of all, it's super high priced, $6,000. Okay, that means, do the math real quick. Okay, if all of the rooms are booked, and you know they are, at $6,000 in one day, they're making $6 million. Like that. $6 million. Okay? 7 days a week. And the thing is that it is so expensive to go to that they need to give you, and they need to treat you like a VIP. But when you hear that it's A, claustrophobic, good luck trying to get it in the bedrooms, okay? And B, you're on your phone most of the time because look, I the role playing experiences aren't the best. I can only eat so much for $6,000, guys. I think that had this been cut in half, okay, and it had been $3,000, that would have been worthwhile. But for $6,000, not only do I want VIP treatment, okay, I want all my food paid for. I want lightning passes. I want a meet and greet with celebrities, and I want to have lunch with them. That's what I want for $6,000. But this, to me, there's no way I would pay $6,000 for that. Not a chance. Anyways, guys, and like I said, I like Star Wars. So, anyways, guys, what do you think about this? What do you think about Galactic Star Cruiser? Would you spend $6,000 to go there for 48 hours? would you do that? Have you done that? Have you paid higher prices for theme parks and everything in Disney and everything else? Leave me your thoughts down in the comments. I'm going to get back to everybody. Okay, so we go from one Disney story to another Disney story. So everybody knows that with Disney, there has been a big battle with the governor of Disney, and that is Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis has made, and I feel sorry for anybody that lives in Florida. And if you watch from Florida, God bless you, you know, um, because it's very difficult. But Disney has really, they're fighting back. Okay. And so they have now dropped the main campus that they were going to actually start producing. But because of it, okay, a lot of people are in limbo. So this comes from the Hollywood Reporter, okay, and it talks about, sorry about that, guys. It talks about how Disney has actually dropped the plans for this. Disney is abandoning plans to build a new campus in Lake Noah, Florida. In a memo sent to employees Thursday, Josh D'Amaro, chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts and Disney, said they would not be moving forward with the construction of the campus due to, quote, considerable changes that have occurred since the announcement of the project, including new leadership and changing business conditions, end quote. The project was announced under the leadership of then Disney CEO Bob Chapek in 2021. The decision comes as a part of the larger legal battle between Disney and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, which began in March of last year with the entertainment company's opposition to Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay bill. Tensions escalated in April when Disney and DeSantis alleging that the governor's oversight board illegally voided an agreement that transferred certain powers of the company dissolved by Reedy Creek Special District back to Disney. Disney has already delayed the relocation of about 2,000 workers in its park, experience and products division, including many Imagineers. The people responsible for designing the park's theme parks and rides to the Lake Noah campus until 2026, amidst the fight of the Don't Say Gay bill, as well as the desire to provide those employees to more flexibility, the company said at the time. Now, Disney is no longer asking employees to relocate there, though D'Amaro notes that some 2,000 have already been moved. This was not an easy decision to make, but I believe it's the right one. As a result, we no longer will be asking our employees to relocate, he wrote in a memo. Iger hinted a withdrawal from Florida on May's 10th earnings call, when he said he was, quote, closely evaluating where it makes sense to direct future investments, end quote, in Disney's theme park business. He appears to directly taunt DeSantis, saying, doesn't the state want us to invest more, employ more people, and pay more taxes, or not? So this is the full memo that D'Amaro wrote. He said, team, I want to let you know that we've just begun communication regarding our updated plans for the Lake Noah campus. As many of you know, the company has decided to build a new Disney campus in Lake Noah, and many of our cast members, Imagineers, and employees were asked to commit to a move to Florida. While some were very excited about the new campus, I know that this decision and the circumstances surrounding it have been difficult for others. Given the considerable changes that have occurred since the announcement of this project, including new leadership and changing business conditions, we have decided not to move forward with the construction of the campus. This was not an easy decision to make, but I believe it is the right one. As a result, we will no longer be asking our employees to relocate. For those who have already moved, we will talk to you individually about your situation, including the possibility of you moving back. It is unclear that the power of this brand comes from it is clear to me that the power of this brand comes from our incredible people, and we are committed to handling the change with care and compassion. I remain optimistic about the direction of our Walt Disney World business. We have plans to invest $17 billion and create 13,000 jobs over the next 10 years. I hope we're able to do so. We are committed to our teams who call Central Florida home, and to all of our cast members around the world. I want to thank you for your continued dedication to the parks and experiences, and for delivering the world-class entertainment to our guests. Okay, let's talk about this because it's important. Okay, here's the thing. DeSantis is I'm not going to make this political, so don't worry, guys. DeSantis is an idiot. Okay, he's an absolute idiot. And the thing is that he should be wanting people to get jobs. Okay, he should be wanting all of these, the economy in his state to be doing well and everything else. His values, his beliefs, and his opinions not only don't line up with me, okay, but they don't line up with a lot of people. And because of this, Disney has had to put this on hold. And all of those people that are down there right now, and that's who I feel the most sorry for, they are now in limbo. They're now in limbo because those people, those 2,000 individuals that were, I won't say promised, but we're looking forward to actually having a new campus built and everything else, they're now in limbo. And talking to them individually, what is it, that's going to be the biggest thing, because I'm sure many of them, okay, have families, or some of them have families. My guess is, okay, this is just a guess, I don't know this to be true or false. They asked a lot of people that were single, that had very few attachments, because they don't want to have to worry about, giving a family of $4,000 or $5,000 to move somewhere, where they can give half of that amount to John Q or Jane Q and doing that. And I think that that's really troublesome, that you have somebody that basically is stopping them. And mind you, I've been to Orlando. Okay, I actually went to it's about 30 minutes right outside of Orlando. Excuse me. It's about 30 minutes right outside of Orlando. It's called Kissimmee. Many, many, many years ago. It was before the pandemic. And the reason why I didn't stay in Orlando is because it was so high priced. The reason I say this is Orlando, while Las Vegas may be, Orlando is the number one tourist destination in the world. Okay, not only in the United States, but in the world. Okay, maybe not in the world. I'll take that back, but definitely in the United States. Because when you look at all the theme parks, people go down there for one main thing: Disney World. I mean, they go to Universal and they go to SeaWorld and they go to Knott's Berry, but those are secondary. You go to Disney first, okay? The fact that they've had to, A, put it on hold is tough, but B, more importantly, the fact that you have all these people in limbo and they don't know what to do. They are in deep, deep trouble because luckily it's only 2,000. So this may only cost them a couple of $1 million in the grand scheme of things. I'll be very curious to see how long this whole thing goes, because it's going to be very interesting. But DeSantis, he's an idiot. He's a flat out idiot, and he's making this now to the point where, he doesn't understand. He just doesn't get it. I hope they take care of it. At the end of the day, my goal is those 2,000 people were made whole. Okay, that's A. And B, I hope they are able to build this. And if they are able to create 13,000 jobs, that's fantastic. Okay, but it is over the next 10 years. So I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to be making money from this. Disney will eventually, but they're making oodles of money already. Anyways, what do you guys think about the park actually them actually having to halt their plans on this? Do you think this is the right thing? What do you think should happen to the 2,000 people that are down there already? Do you think they should relocate? Disney should relocate them or give them a cash amount to relocate so they can do whatever they want? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and I'll get back to everybody. Okay. So we go from Disney to the box office. And the box office this is going to be a huge box office, guys. And so we're going to do two stories here about this, but the first one, which I actually saw yesterday, is Fast 10. So as I said, come back at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, okay, 12 noon, and Matthew Anderson and myself are going to be talking about Fast 10. We're going to be doing a spoiler cast about this. We're going to dump all of it on you. But I did a story about, I don't know, a few days ago, 2-3 days ago, about how Fast 10 was tracking for about $60 million. And when you look at the budget of that film, once again, it ballooned. Okay, part of it was COVID. That's understandable. Probably, 4 to 5% of that is COVID costs. That's fine. I happened to look at the salaries of everybody last night, and I was absolutely shocked. And I'm going to be getting to more of that in the spoiler cast, so come back for that, like I said. But it was just fascinating. And so the numbers are going to be in for Fast 10. So according to THR, okay, this is actually better than what they were projecting, believe it or not. And mind you, these are projections. So when Monday comes around, I'll be doing a story about how much it actually made. So according to the THR, Fast 10 is cruising to a $67.3 million opening and 320 globally. Fast 10 is headed for a North American debut of $67.3 million and a rousing $320 million globally. That's a promising start for the 10th installment in a Hollywood franchise, although the series is seeing lower openings in the United States overall. Overseas is a different matter, though. Fast 10 is on track to clear $252 million in its international debut. Its global opening makes it the second number 2 debut of the year behind Super Mario Brothers, and the third global opening in the franchise behind Fate of the Furious and Fast 7. The global pick will easily wrestle the box office crown away from Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is now in its third weekend. It's projected to make another $32 to $33 million. And by the way, guys, I said it here on the show the other day, it was going to drop about 50%. Okay? In North America, Fast X earned a B+ cinema score from audiences, the same grade given to Fast 9, the Fast Saga, which debuted domestically to $70 million in 2021, when the pandemic was still posing a major challenge for the box office. Friday's domestic tally included $7.5 million in Thursday previews at the North American box office. Louis Leterrier directed the 10th installment in the popular franchise. He's also on board for the upcoming 11th and presumably the final one. Vin Diesel leads a huge cast of familiar faces and new faces, including franchise mainstays Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Sung Kang, and Jordan Brewster. Newcomers include Jason Momoa, who's pictured there, Brie Larson, and Rita Moreno, who plays Diesel's grandmother. Nathaniel Emmanuelson, John Cena, Jason Statham, Alan Richardson, Daniela Magnicar, Scott Eastwood, Helen Mirren, and Charlize Theron also star. In his review of Fast 10, the Hollywood Reporter Frank Scheck said, quote, "The latest installment in this franchise is surprisingly durable, with jamming in so many existing and new characters, both living and presumed dead. that just creating the call sheets must have been a nightmare. There are so many lovable displays of photographs of current and former cast members laced throughout the film. You begin to wonder if you're watching an action movie or the world's most violent bar mitzvah. End quote. Over the course of the many Fast films, Dom Toretto, played by Vin Diesel, and his family have outsmarted, outnerved, and outdriven every foe in their path. Now they confront the most lethal opponent they've ever faced, a terrifying villain played in Mimosa, emerging from the shadow of the past, who's fueled by blood rage and determined to shatter the family and destroy everything and everyone that Dom loves. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. This is just one of those movies that I don't even know like where to start because it is so. I put out a tweet the other day. It is just so wild and crazy that it's just so overpacked with not only action, because there is a lot of action. I mean, one of those set pieces, you know, um, it just it's it's unbelievable that the Rome one. So anybody who's seen the picture knows what I'm talking about. Um, that you know, it's so wild, it's so crazy, it's so out there that I didn't know where I was going sometimes. But I gotta say, I turned my brain off and I had fun with it. I mean, not everything needs to be, story driven, action, and everything else. That being said, this is a good movie. I mean, not I won't say a good movie because the story is all over the place. I the action was fun. Okay, there were a lot of characters that had very little to do, but okay. Getting back to the box office, though, it's impressive because when you look at what this was projected to do, okay, and like I said, it was projected at 60 million. So this was a little. The high end was 73. The low end was 60. So this is right in that 67 million. Now, obviously, final numbers are going to come out on Monday. Um, but let's say it hits 68, 69 million. Call it 70. Let's just call it 70 million. That's not bad for opening weekend. But this is going to struggle just to make a profit or break even. It's made $323 million. Okay, we know that. This has got to make about $800 to $850 million just to turn a profit. And it really only has one more week to do any more damage, and that's next week. It is Memorial Day. It is, everything else. But once June starts, forget about it. Forget about it. So I think that I don't see this not only not turning a profit, I don't even see this getting back to even. I mean, yes, it's going to make its budget back. Okay, fine. This is probably at the end of the day, this will be lucky to get right around 600 to 700 million dollars. That's what it's going to do. And then you've got to ask yourself a lot of questions. Number one, I mean, they've already said they're going to make one more. Okay, fine. But that needs to be it. That needs to be it. Because it's just too big. The budget is just ballooned. I mean, we have 2 or 3 movies this year. This is the other one. This is the second film that has a budget over $300 million. So you have to ask yourself, how is this going to turn a profit? I don't know. Anyways, come back. I would just say this. If you want to know my full thoughts about this, come back a little later on. As I said, 3 Pacific, 3 Pacific, 12 Eastern, 6 Eastern. I'm sorry. Let me try that again. 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. I'm going to be talking with Matthew, and we are going to be doing a breakdown of Fast 10 what we liked, what we didn't like, where we see it going, the end credits, all of that stuff. But, anyways, guys, what did you think about Fast 10? Have you seen Fast 10 yet? If you did, what did you like? Who did you like? And what did you like or who didn't you like? Um, you know, without spoiling it, what did you think of the end credit scene? Okay, just generalized thoughts without anything specific. What did you think of the end credit scene? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and I'll get back to everybody. Okay, so we go from one movie in particular for the blockbuster season to the whole thing as a whole. Okay, we just were talking about Fast 10, okay, which is going to be another blockbuster. Okay, so according to THR, again, the magic number for the summer box office could be $4 billion. And I think legitimately has a chance to surpass $4 billion. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. After more than 3 years of the World Health Organization, they announced on May 5th that COVID-19 is no longer qualifying as a global emergency. James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 opened in theaters the same day, kicking off the summer box office. Never has there been a summer season more critical to Hollywood's movie studios and cinema operators as this one, as both look to rebound from COVID-19 lows. I have long said that this summer will be the bellwether of the health of the theatrical business. It will be the first play, period, with normal release pattern, a veteran studio executive told THR. After an April super bloom at the box office led by the Super Mario Brothers movie, bullish box office pundits believe that it is possible for summer revenue to clear $4 billion domestic and return to a pre-COVID level, or at least some semblance of return. Though the recovery, a major issue has been lack of product due to the delays by the pandemic. This summer's pipeline, however, is a very different story, including 42 wide releases, up from 22 in the summer of 2022, which topped out at $3.4 billion, and 32 wide releases in 2019, which revenue clocked in at $4.34 billion. The industry is coming back to life quite nicely, says Wall Street analyst Eric Handler of MKM Partners, citing the better-than-expected performance of Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which has already earned north of $530 million globally. But to what extent is full speed? That's where we must continue to look back at 2019 as a barometer. We're still double digits down year to date. He's not wrong. For the year to date, domestic revenue stands at $3 billion, up 29% from the same corridor a year ago, but behind 2019 by 20%. The good news, domestic revenue crossed $3 billion on May 14th, a mark not reached until June 10th last year. This represents a remarkable recovery for theaters in the United States and Canada, says Comms chief analyst Paul Darabach. This looks like one of the strongest summer lineups in industry history, at least on paper. Adding fuel to the fire is a nice trend of crowd-pleasing movies that are showing incredibly strong week after week holds. This could also be a determining factor hitting the $4 billion threshold. The breadth of the summer slate is impressive. From Disney's Little Mermaid, which is coming out the 26th, Pixar's Eternals, the 16th, The Flash, which is also being released the 16th, Warner Brothers' Barbie, July 21st, Oppenheimer, which is being released the same day, and the next installments of Fast and Furious, which we just had, Indiana Jones at the end of June 30th, and of course, Mission Impossible, July 12th. We no longer feel like we're playing on defense, an optimistic AMC theater chief Adam Aaron told THR during the annual confab of theater owners at CinemaCon in April. We're no longer in survival mode, but rather in thriving mode. During CinemaCon, several studio executives called on the theater owners to make sure that consumers have a good experience when resuming their movie-going habits. That includes pricing and curbing the number of trailers and third-party ads. At AMC locations, for example, there are 20 to 25 minutes of trailers and a Nicole Kidman public service announcement, while Cinemark's pre-movie show includes trailers and a third-party ad. According to a THR Morning Consult poll, patrons are more amenable watching trailers than a traditional advertisement. However, the majority of those queried said that trailers should run no longer than 9 minutes before a movie starts, and few are in favor of anything longer more than 14 minutes. Specifically, 27% of the respondents in the survey said an appropriate length for time for trailers is less than 5 minutes. 31% prefer no more than 5 to 9 minutes, while 20% opted for 10 to 14 minutes. From there, sentiments fall sharply. Just 8% said an appropriate length for a trailer is 15 to 19 minutes. On the other end of the spectrum, 7% of those said they would prefer no trailers at all. Well, of course they would. So we've got a lot of work to do to get back to where we need to be. We're going to keep people coming back to the movies. Paramount president of domestic distribution said, we need a true partnership focused on the long-term health of the business and not on the short-term gains. So I'm going to stop there and then give the chart. So a couple things. Number one, we're definitely going to hit $4 billion. I just don't see us not hitting $4 billion. Number two, I think Guardians is going to be that film. Not only does it have legs, okay, not only is it the first movie of the summer, however, I think it could be a $700 or $800 million film, okay, and that would be a complete success. That being said, let me talk about the trailers for a minute, because I am one of those nerds, okay, that love to read the most boring material you will ever look at in your life, okay? So anybody who's interested in this can go find it themselves. But the MPA, okay, the Motion Picture Association, actually has guidelines for trailers. Not only do they have guidelines for trailers, they have guidelines for the length of trailers and who is actually watching these trailers. And when I say who, I mean the people that are actually watching the movies and the trailers to get the ratings that you're getting. Okay. That being said, your average run-of-the-mill trailer, okay, is going to run anywhere. So according to the MPA, every single studio out there, Paramount, Universal, MGM, Amazon, whatever, they're allowed one trailer. And by the way, these could have changed, but this is when I read it 3, 4, 5 years ago. Every single studio, major studio, is allowed one trailer. That includes Pixar and everybody else. One trailer of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. One. Every single trailer has to be under that threshold. Now, trailers are for marketing. We all know this. If, in fact, the majority of these people, going to Fast X yesterday, I can say I looked at 5 trailers, okay? I looked at The Flash, okay? I looked at the new movie coming out. I totally forgot about it. I looked at 4 or 5 trailers, okay? It's fascinating how quickly you forget them. But I looked at about 4 or 5 trailers. Now, if each one of those trailers is 2.5 minutes, call it 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Okay? At 5, that's about 12 minutes worth of trailers. Okay? Give or take. What blows my mind is the very first trailer that was put out for Fast X. You guys can go back and watch this on YouTube. Was 4 minutes long. I'm not kidding you. I think it was like 4 minutes and 13 seconds. It's a whole movie. I don't have to go to the movie to see it. That is way, way, way too long. Okay, what the whole premise of a trailer, the first trailer is to get you interested, it's to pique your interest. The second trailer is to give you a little more about the story. Okay, and if there is a final trailer, you obviously, hopefully, they don't spoil it for you, but you get all of the meat and potatoes in there. What they did, and even one of the other ones that I can remember that was really, really long, okay, and there was a little bit more behind it, was Dune. Dune had over if that very first trailer for Dune back in 2021, I want to say, or 2020, that was over 3 minutes. So, but that's a different story because unless you're an avid Dune reader, unless you know of the story, you've read the books, like me, for example, I knew of the 1984 debacle. I know that Frank Herbert wrote the books. That's it. I had no idea what the story was. So that was good for me. But trailers are they're marketing tools. And this is why these companies spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to put the trailers in front of your favorite movies. Whether it is The Flash, whether it is Mission Impossible, whether it is Oppenheimer, whether it is Fast and Furious, because they want to get as many eyeballs on it as possible. Okay? Sure, they can spend $5 million on the Super Bowl, but big deal. And that's like the premium time. But that being said, some of these films you go back and see 2, 3, 4 times. The more you watch a trailer, unless you have zero, the more you watch a trailer, and this is just a fact, the more it sits in your brain. And you go, oh, let's go. At first, you hate it. And then, okay. And then you start to grow on it. And I'll give you a perfect example for me was The Flash. I said, I had no desire to see this film. Zero. I said I'd cover it, but I really, if I were an outsider, so to speak, and I did not have to go and watch it for the channel, I wouldn't go watch it. I wouldn't. But I watched the trailers, and like when I see that, and I saw Fast X in Screen X, I saw Fast X in Screen X yesterday, but I'm like, hell yeah, I want to see this. I want to see this in IMAX. That's how big it is. But the trailers are there for not only the fans, but they have to advertise. They have to tell people, look, this movie's coming. Okay? And it's marketing. And we may not like them. Okay? We may not like them. We may think they're terrible. And we may, oh, really? They're showing the Flash trailer again? I've seen this trailer 16,000 times. But that 16,000 the first time, it's a simple fact of, even if you're invested in the film, these theaters, and I've always been fascinated who picks the, who picks the trailers and how it's done. Anyways, but it's to get you your butts in the seats, to tell you it's like a television show that says, Real Talks is coming. Our next show is going to be on Tuesday. Okay, so we're going to give you a little trailer. By the way, guys, speaking of trailers, little nugget for anybody that's going to be stopping by this channel. Okay, in about a week, I'm going to have a very special little trailer come to me from a very cool guy, and I'm going to put it up there, and I want you guys to give me your opinions on it, and hopefully this is going to generate more traffic. But regardless, yeah, but they're for, at the end of the day, they're for them. As far as the box office is concerned, I got off track there. As far as the box office is concerned, we're going to hit $4 billion without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, you've already got Guardians that's made over $500 million. Okay. And we're not even in June yet. We're assuming The Little Mermaid, even though it's not my cup of tea, it's still going to generate a lot of buzz. And it's going to do probably a lot of money overseas. Okay. Then, even pictured here, okay, you have Across the Spider-Verse, which is going to be huge. Okay. You have Elemental, which I'm dying to see. I really am. I think it looks cute. I think it looks fun. It's going to be a good time. You've got Indiana Jones, okay? Regardless of what the reviews are, right? You've got The Flash, okay? You've got Oppenheimer, okay, for the hardcore, story-driven type of people, which, by the way, has a huge cast, okay? Robert Downey Jr., Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, okay? You've got Fast and Furious, which is still going to continue to make money, okay? And Barbie. So, I mean, even if, look at it this way, even if every single one of those movies makes $500 million, and by the way, I think Mission Impossible, if I didn't name that, even if each one of those movies makes $500 million, which clearly I think like a Mission Impossible is definitely going to make, okay? I think it's got a chance to get closer to $1 billion. I still think it's going to be the biggest movie this summer. You've already hit your $4 billion like that. Now, there is one caveat, and that's this. In the article, one of the gentlemen was referring to 2019. That was kind of a outlier. And the reason I say that is because in 2019, we had Avengers Endgame, right? Avengers Endgame wiped everybody out. I mean, you're never going to see another Avengers Endgame ever again. Ever. I mean, the records that it broke for getting opening weekend, it made $357 million opening weekend. The fastest to $1 billion. Okay? The fastest to $1.5 billion, the fastest to $2 billion. Okay? That was the culmination of going all the way back 11 years and over 20 films. You're never going to see that again. So to compare it to 2019, because we made almost $4 billion in 2000, the theaters made almost, box office, Hollywood, made almost $4 billion, or a little over that in 2019. That is an outlier. That is always going to be there. This year, this picture, okay, just demonstrates. I mean, a lot of this too, I mean, take The Flash, for example. That's been on the shelf for 2 years because of COVID. Okay? Take Mission Impossible. That took 3 years to film. Why? Because of COVID. We are still getting movies that were made from COVID. The Batman made $770 million worldwide. Why? Because everybody was waiting for it. We were all waiting for it. It blew up for 47 or 50 million opening weekend. Okay? The thing is that when you have this kind of, you're still gaining all this stuff. So, like I said, I think 2019 is an outlier. But even if every single one of these films pictured makes $500 million, you're there in no time. And, it's going to be interesting to see moving forward how much, because we're in the third week of the writer's strike. Now, obviously, this is going to affect stuff for, hopefully, 2024, 2025. But if this keeps going on, let's say this goes on another 3 months. Let's say this doesn't end by September. Now everything gets pushed back, right? I mean, we have the whole, so I mean, because Marvel's a big thing, Jonathan Majors is going back to court on June 4th. Okay. We will then know what happens with this. And Kang Dynasty, that's in a set date of 2024 right now. Well, what happens with that? That's probably going to get pushed back to 2025, which means Secret Wars is going to get pushed back to 2026. But those are huge, huge, huge movies for Marvel. Those are billion-dollar movies. So it's all going to depend on a lot of different factors. But as far as this year is concerned, no doubt in my mind, if we don't get to $4 billion, we're going to get very, very close. 3.7, 3.8, something around there. Because I can't see it not happening. Okay? Because you're going to have a film like Mission Impossible just blow up. Blow up. Right now, as it stands, I saw a tweet the other day. I don't know who it was from. The Flash is tracking for about 110 million opening weekend. Now, that's call a spade and take that with a grain of salt. We're still about a month out from that. But, that's one of the two movies, that's the second of the three movies I've spoken about that will win weekends. Guardians was the first, The Flash is the second, Mission Impossible is the third. But I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine in the grand scheme of things. And I understand the comparison to 2019, but it's still you can't do that. If Mission, and I know I keep harping on Mission Impossible, but this is going to be part one of a two-part, the finale. The finale. This is going to be bigger, more bombastic, more wild, story-driven, action-packed. Look out. That I think with Tom Cruise's goodwill, with the success of Maverick, with the way Chris McQuarrie and Cruise have basically, they love to bring everything full circle and close the circuit. Everything else, that is either going to be the number, get very close to $1 billion or get to $1 billion. Mark my words. I've been right every single step of the way about this movie. So hopefully, fingers crossed I can continue on that trend, but that's going to be the big one. So, anyways, off that long-winded, tiraded rant of my opinion, what do you guys think about this? Do you think it's going to make more than $4 billion or less than $4 billion? Which movie, A, is going to be the biggest earner of this summer? And B, which one do you think is going to be the one that is not going to be the biggest earner? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll get back to everybody. Okay. So that is going to do it for today's show. As I keep reiterating, Matthew is going to come back, and we are going to talk about Fast 10 in its entirety. And, what exactly happened and what the cameos were and how it was done and everything about it, because this is one of those movies that I gotta say, I mean, I will only see this movie one time. I have very little desire at all to ever go back and see this film again. It just didn't work for me in so many different ways. And I think that it's one of those things where, I think that it's going to be, look, it was fun. It was crazy. It was zany. It was fun. But I unless I go with somebody to see this, I will not go see this again on my own. I just won't. But anyways, so we will be reviewing Fast 10 in its entirety. Complete spoiler cast is going to be coming up today. Okay, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. Come back. And yeah, so we've got a bunch of stuff coming up on the channel. Not only Fast 10, you know, so really we've got started June as the picture, this is the picture that, I'm going to go back to. We've got Across the Spider-Verse on June 2nd. These are all going to be spoiler cast, guys. We've got, Elemental the 16th. We've got The Flash the 16th. We've got Indiana Jones on the 30th. Pictured up there in the top right-hand corner is Barbie. I am going to go see Barbie. I've been a staunch supporter they should move, but I am going to go see it. I am going to give my thoughts about it. We got Oppenheimer opening the same day, and then of course in July we have Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, which, yeah, I mean, if you can't already tell, I'm on board with Mission Impossible. So we're going to be giving you all those spoiler casts. Perfect movies. In June, we have another perfect movie coming up for you guys, and this one is going to be The Dark Knight. It's a perfect movie. Speaking of Christopher Nolan, it is a perfect movie, hands down. That is, in my opinion, that's his masterclass. I have not forgotten about the Patreon. Okay, I will be sitting down to record Training Day and The Untouchables this weekend. Okay, I'll do a pre-recorded video and then I'm going to put them on there. If you guys do want to support me, as the ticker says, you can do it in a couple ways. Number one, go to that store. There's a lot of cool things there. There's T-shirts, there's sweatshirts, there's hoodies, there's mugs on there. So you can have your favorite cup of coffee. Great gift items. Okay. Number two, please, guys, if you stop by or you're an avid watcher of the channel, hit that like and subscribe button because that's going to get this out to everybody. Okay. And number three, just tune in on a regular basis, and that's going to be, I always respond to people in the comments and everything else. And I'm trying to grow. As I said, I have a neat little trailer coming at hopefully the end of this week. So I actually got the guy who does movie trailers, his voice. So sent him something. It was, I don't know, $70. And I gave him all the information about the channel. I gave him a link to the channel. And by the end of next week, there is going to be a trailer by the movie voice guy on the channel. So look out for that. And yeah, there's just, I think that's about it. So, and I think there's just so much to, how did I forget? I've been talking about it for so long. Mission Impossible. I am doing a Mission Impossible rewatch series. I will be putting the next one. I've got to sit down and watch Mission Impossible 3. I will be putting the next one up. By the time July 14th rolls around, guys, which is not that long, six weeks, I will have sat down and watched all the Mission Impossibles. And I'll have basically walked through and dissected all of those. And yeah, that's about it. So do the 3 things you need to do. Be safe, be careful, and have a great rest of the weekend. And I'm David Steele, and you've been watching Real Talks, and come back for the spoiler cast later on. Okay, guys. Bye-bye.